Welcome back to the Dewan Moore Show. I'm your host, Dewan Moore. This news story is from IFL Science, and it was written by Robert Andrews, and it's covering 5 horrible ways you could die. And with that being said, let's jump right into this story. Death is, by default, unwelcome. Most demise triggered by the natural world are relatively uneventful, but nature can be a cruel and speculating and gruesome from time to time, providing science with unavailable task of picking apart how these deaths occurred step by step. Here's a gruesome way to go. Number 1. The missing skulls of ancient Rome. Death by pyroclastic flow, or as a less dense gas-rich cousin, the pyroclastic surge, isn't a pleasant way to go. Although most people's minds jump to Pompeii or Herculaneum in the year 79 CE, those hazards are quite obviously not a thing of the past, traveling at the typical speed of 50 miles per hour, but possibly far faster than that. Their superheated mixtures of gases, lava blobs, and debris can reach temperatures as high as 1,830 degrees Fahrenheit and will indiscriminately annihilate anything in their path. While these hellish, dense currents blast across rooftops and through streets, their fiery flash fired anyone they engulfed. Their skin was instantly cooked, and the victims died of extreme heat shock, freezing them in a gastalic pose, a coiling up of instant rigor mortis as their muscles suddenly contracted. Any unlucky few that made it through the thermal annihilation stage likely suffered under the toxic volcanic gas and ash. This is one rather gruesome detail, though, that is often not spoke about. The skulls of several of the victims in Herculaneum and Old Pontus, both near Pompeii, were found to have shattered, and it's likely extreme environmental heat is what has caused the fluid within their skulls and brains to boil. Within mere moments, this would have caused their heads to explode. How's that for mind-blowing? Number 2, the diving bell accident. The Bight-Ford Dolphin, a semi-submersible drilling rig owned by BP in the North Sea, was doing its usual thing back in November 5th, 1983. Several divers were working on the frigate, gas-filled with the help of a diving bell, a rigged chamber that's designed to take divers to the dangerous of depths. As these diving bells are put under enormous external pressure as they dive even deeper, the air inside these bells is highly compressed and the internal pressure can be increasingly high. A rigorous safe procedure involves 2 divers outside the bell, ensuring that the diving bell can attach itself to a series of low-pressure chambers and trunks, allowing the occupants to disembark without exposing themselves to a sudden drop in pressure. That day, the diving bell was being wrenched back up to a shallow depth, and the procedure occurred as normal, at least at first. The divers had left the bell and were in the sealed trunk-like passageway between them and the decompression chamber. Another 2 divers were already in a different compartment of said chamber. According to the History Channel, they were about to close the door between the trunk passageway and the chamber when something took place. Varyingly blamed on the premature opening of the diving bell clamp and faulty equipment, the diving bell clamp suddenly opened, causing the bell with 9 times more pressure than the chamber to explosively decompress. The 4 divers and one of the attendants outside the bell died instantly. The divers nearest the door was blasted through a 24-inch gap between the trunk door and the chamber when the event occurred, causing him to become completely disintegrated, with parts of him found scattered about the rig. The remains of the 4 divers were sent to us in 4 plastic bags, the study noted. explaining how various body parts, including the brain, respiratory system, and more, were obliterated. Weirdly, the liver was found somewhere on deck, complete as if it had been dissected out of the body. The penis was present, it added, but invaginated. I'll let you Google that one. One last note, if you're still with me, the sudden low pressure boiled the diver's blood, which caused the fats to become insoluble and secrete rapidly around their bodies. Number 3, the indoor lightning strike. The chances of dying from lightning strikes, let alone merely being hit by one, are vanishingly small, about 1 in a million. In a given year in the US, for example, you're more likely to die from falling down the stairs, so it's gravity you really should be looking out for. The chances of dying indoor lightning strike, however, are ludicrously low. As first spotted by Popular Science, a case reported published in 2017 explains how a man died of just that. Working next to a metallic pillar and between two metallic sawhorses, an overhead thunderstorm clearly decided his time was up. The bolt shot down through the pillar, leapt through his foot, traveled through his heart, and shot out through his right thumb. 70% of his body experienced first, second, and third degree burns, and the study noted that the corpse revealed an unusual rigidity which could not be overcome by manual force, thus inexplicable by rigor mortis alone. Number 4, dissolving in volcanic hot pits. Yellowstone National Park may be sitting atop the world's most famous supervolcano, but clearly that's not all there is. Yes, this volcano may be dormant right now, but its geothermal systems of geysers and hot springs are anything but. These geothermal pools are either fairly alkaline or incredibly acidic, and they are always hot with temperatures always bubbling just below boiling. Falling into them is not recommended, but every now and then someone does, often due to putting bravado over common sense. One man recently fell into the pool within Norris Geyser Basin, and its superheated, extremely acidic waters ensured that he experienced a rather novel demise. Initially, it's likely he experienced full thickness or third-degree burns, which results in all 3 of your layer skins being damaged, blackened, leatherized, and ripped apart. His subconscious fat would have boiled away too. Weirdly, this would have caused very little pain, as his nerve endings would have also burned away, leaving him unable to feel very much. He would have then quickly succumbed to extreme heat shock and potential bleeding out, although it's unclear what killed him first. Within less than a day, his body, yes, even his skeleton, had been completely dissolved and no remains could be found. So, let this be a warning, kids. Hot springs will melt away at you like a sugar lump in coffee. And last but certainly not least, number 5, death by boomslang. Although sounding a lot more like a weapon or a potion ingredient for Wizarding World of Harry Potter, a boomslang is a very venomous snake. Although they aren't particularly aggressive, if they feel threatened, they may take a snap at you. If their real fangs manage to penetrate your skins, you've been envenomed, with the toxic substance coursing through your body. Thanks to their sinus and prevalence of anti-venom, you have been seriously unlucky to die via boomslang. Unfortunately, that's the exact fate that befell herpetologist Carl P. Schmitz, who was brought a specimen to identify back in September of 1957, a Chicago Natural Museum history. As beautiful brought to life by a Science Friday video, the snake bit his left thumb during his examination. He documented the effects of the venom was having, and he promptly died the following day. Judging by his journal, it wasn't a pleasant death either. Starting with powerful nausea, he then developed a chill, followed by severe shaking and rapid rise body temperature. He started bleeding from the mouth and urinating a bit of blood during the night. before violently vomiting up his dinner. He continued to bleed from his various orifices, including his nose and eyes, for some time afterward, before eventually losing his ability to respond to external stimuli. He died of respiratory paralysis that afternoon as his heart and brain began to bleed out. As it happens, Boomslang venom can cause the body to produce a plethora of tiny blood clots, rendering it unable to clot in the immediate future. Ultimately, they cause its prey to die of exsanguination. You say that word. Anyways, those were 5 ways that you can shuffle off this mortal coil that we call life. Let me know in the comment section which way you think is the worst way to go. Even though they say it's painless, I still feel like it's the falling into the ascetic pools. That's my opinion. Like I said, let me know what you guys think is the worst way to go in the comment section below. Thank you for joining me. Remember, you're special, and we're glad you're here. And I'll see you next time on the Dwan Moore Show. Peace.